So I'm only going to share with you just a few minutes. And I'm going to share with you something. It kind of cracks me up that I'm sharing with you, actually, because I want to tell you a little story. Is that we had the V Retreat with about 150 college students here in February. And I was speaking on the last night. I know. Amanda, she's my cheerleader. You guys, I've never had a preaching experience like this in my life. So I get up there, and it's just like it just wasn't there. I mean, I still hardly know how to describe it. And I'm having thoughts going through my head like, I've just got to get off this stage. What am I going to do? I mean, my notes, it was like it wasn't going anywhere. And I'm stumbling around, and Amanda, bless her heart, she's like, no, it wasn't that bad. I don't know. It was just the weirdest, like, get me out of here experience that I've had. And I'm just like, what in the world? And I felt like I had a word from the Lord going into it, kind of, and how it was going to be and whatever. And so, needless to say, I learned a few things, but it's funny because this is the same thing. And really, I think part of what happened is that it was too detailed and not enough substance to it. And so then you're getting up there, and all of a sudden it's like, and I tried to like memorize my notes, which I don't normally do, as opposed to just kind of, where you're going, so you can kind of speak out of your heart. It was awkward experience for me. And then you guys, so then back in Patrick's office, there's 2 rooms. So it's his office, and then this other room with a couch in, and then a bathroom. And I'm connected by these French doors that were shut. And so I go back there, and I'm not kidding. I go by Patrick. I'm like, I am so sorry to have laid an egg. And then I go back, and I just plop in this dark room. There wasn't a couch there because it was up in the church for what they were doing, So I just plop on the floor, and like, oh God, it's like, you've got to be kidding me. And so then I'm just whining and wussing back there a little bit. And then pretty soon, it's not that long, somebody is like outside my door, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're bringing the couch in. So it's dark. It's just dead black in there, right? Because I'm just having a little pity party back there, And so then I'm like, I got to get out of here. So then I creep around through the French doors to the other part, and then they're like, hey, I don't know if this couch goes in here. Is this where this goes or not? Because they weren't any guys, they were from this church. So then they start turning on his light. So then they got to sneak back into this other room. So I'm doing this in between. Finally, I turn on the light, and I'm just like, oh my dear Lord Jesus, rapture me. It was just, you just have those awkward moments, and it was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. And it was just such a level of pride that was exposed too, because I'd done such, it was just quite an experience. But anyway, so then we are just my family. We are just, we're kind of out there and joking, to be honest. And so Patrick, of course, was preaching the next day. So we're just like, oh my gosh, don't trip over that dried egg yolk up there. When I laid an egg, it's so bad. And so then it's constant funnies there on out. And then when he got sick a short time later with influenza, and I had to go up to Fargo and speak, the last outing had been the V conference. And so anyway, I'm here sharing the same message with you today. And it's actually really short. But I do want to, I think it's a super important message, and it actually comes from this book called Compound Effect. And Compound Effect is have you read it, Emily? Did you like it? How many have read Compound Effect? You have as well. Yeah, it's an exceptional book. It's by a fellow named Darren Hardy. It's actually a secular book. And but it's so interesting. My daughter Natalie had gone through LifeView and all that, and then she was out in the tractor a lot last summer, and she had it downloaded on audio, and so she listened to it about 5 times. Now, listening to a book 5 times could have the effect of why she said that, but she said that book has been more impacting than any book I've read in my life, in all my years of LifeView or whatever. So not to say, it's just, and sometimes you just have that book that's just timely at the moment for that season of your life kind of a thing. But I think anyway, when you listen to something 5 times, you better get something from it, for crying out loud. And so anyway, the idea of it though is this. It's the idea that our lives, successful lives, the lives that we want, the fruit that we want in our lives, where we want to go, what we want to be able to experience in life, it only comes through small, smart choices done consistently over a period of time. That is the only way we can ever have what we want. Life is day by day. is choice by choice. The kind of life that we want is dependent on the type of life that we live day after day and the small, smart choices that we make during those days. And so sometimes we can think, let's win the lottery of life. But there are no lotteries in life. There are no lotteries in building a successful life. And so even people that will win a natural lottery, and they might have overnight success or something like that, typically they are unable to sustain that success because there are not habits and patterns and disciplines in their lives that create a lifestyle sustainable for success. Does that make sense? And so there are no lotteries in life. A life is built by small, smart choices day after day after day after day after day. And it's not even like they have to be so profound. It's not like you have to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours. It's not like that. They're simple. They're just simple, smart choices. When performed consistently over a period of time, bring us to the place in life that we all desire to get to. And so we can think sometimes like if somebody has just a fabulous marriage or something, we can think that it's because of who they married, or we can think that they're just two highly compatible people that got married. But that is not the truth, because even two highly compatible people that get married, if they do not make small, smart choices concerning their marriage on a daily basis, they are not going to have a ripping hot marriage. Because good, solid, fulfilling, rich, dreamy marriages happen by small, smart choices day after day. It's maybe saying that kind thing when you feel like being snarky. It's taking delight in that, in the book Cherish that some of us read this past fall or whatever. I was talking to Amanda the other night. She had a beautiful testimony of this. And when I read it, this line had gotten me too. In taking pleasure in what brings our spouse pleasure. In other words, that it blesses us when we're able to bless them. And when we do some of those things, when we do some things that we know just bless, honor, just the basic things of living successfully together, those small, smart choices over time build a great relationship. And sometimes we can see like a couple, and they've got just some really great, happy kids, and we can think, oh, they just got lucky. They just got great kids. Well, by about, the third one or something, we have to realize that they didn't just get lucky, because great kids are not born. Great kids are formed. And they're formed by discipline, and they're formed by love, and they're formed by speaking into their lives, and they're formed by routine. And you know what it takes. Obviously, you're all mamas. And so, or even older. You see a family with older kids that to you is like, okay, I can see that I want some of those things in my kids or whatever. And we can think, oh, they just are nice kids, or they're just whatever. But we don't know what has gone in to those kids being where they are at that season of their life. We don't know, we don't know the tears that those parents have cried, and the sacrifices that they have made, and that being present when they feel like being absent, and that engaging when you would rather not engage, and those sacrifices that are made, those small, smart choices where you just choose to do the right thing. Do you know what I'm saying? And so these things don't just happen in life. If you see somebody that has a great physique or whatever, or some gal that's in amazing shape, and it doesn't just happen. These guys that are just muscle builders, this stuff doesn't happen. It just starts by small, smart choices. Everything is built. Financial success, it's built by small, smart choices. Everything in life is built that way. And so I am just going to read a few pages to you from this book, because I think that it says it better than any other thing could. Even positivity, people that are really positive, and we could think they were just born that way. But there are some personalities that are more upbeat, but I would have to say that the majority of people, Well, I shouldn't say that, but I believe this more than ever, that positive people that I know have chosen to be positive, and they are now positive because of small, smart choices that they made over their life. Does that make sense? Is that and so it's just oh, they're just positive people. I just kind of have more of a negative flair in my thinking or whatever. No. But by small, smart choices, we can become more positive and actually begin to be characterized by that. So I'm just going to read some pages out of this because it's kind of long, but I think it says it better than I could, and we'll be done in about 10 minutes, and we're going to go into small groups here. But this is, I thought, it's not based on 3 true people, but it just as well could be. And it's these 3 friends he writes about. He says, so let's take 3 buddies who all grew up together. They live in the same neighborhood with very similar sensibilities. Each makes around $50,000 a year. They're all married and have average health and body weight, plus a little bit of the dreaded marriage flab. Friend number 1, let's call him Larry. He plods along doing as he's always done. He's happy, or so he thinks, but complains occasionally that nothing ever changes. Friend number 2, Scott, he starts making some small, seemingly inconsequential positive changes. He begins reading 10 pages of a good book per day and listening to 30 minutes of something instructional or inspirational on his commute to work. Scott wants to see changes in his life, but he doesn't want to make a fuss over it. He recently read an interview with Dr. Oz in Success magazine and chose one idea from the article to implement in his life. He's going to cut 125 calories from his diet every day. No big deal. We're talking maybe a cup of cereal less, trading that can of soda for a bottle of seltzer, switching from mayo to mustard on his sandwich. It's doable. He's also started walking a couple thousand extra steps per day, which is less than a mile. No grand acts of bravery or effort, stuff anyone could do, but Scott is determined to stick with these choices, knowing that even though they're simple, he could also easily be tempted to abandon them. Well, friend number 3, Brad, he makes a few poor choices. He recently bought a new big screen TV so he can watch more of his favorite programs. He's been trying out recipes he's seen on the Food Channel. The cheesy casseroles and desserts are his favorite. Mine too. Oh, and he installed a bar in his family room and added 1 alcoholic drink per week to his diet. Nothing crazy. Brad just wants to have a little more fun. And at the end of 5 months, doesn't 5 months kind of seem like a while? At the end of 5 months, no perceivable differences exist among Larry, Scott, or Brad. Scott continues to read a little bit every night and listen to audios during his commute. Brad is enjoying life and doing less, and Larry keeps doing as he always has. Even though each man has his own pattern of behavior, 5 months is not long enough to see any real decline or improvement in the situations. In fact, if you charted the 3 men's weights, you'd see a rounding error of 0. They look exactly equal. Well, at the end of 10 months, now 10 months, this is like we're pushing a year. We still can't see noticeable changes in any of their lives. This is the power of the compound effect. This is the power of small, smart choices. And this is so critical. And we're going to talk about this in small group because we cannot abandon our small, smart choices because we're not seeing results right away. It's the temptation that we all have. So at the end of 10 months, we still can't see noticeable changes. It's not until we get to the end of the 18th month, a year and a half, that the slightest differences are measurable in these 3 friends' appearances. But at about month 25, just a little over a year or 2 years, we start seeing really measurable, visible differences. At month 27, we see an expansive difference, and now by month 31, the change is startling. Brad is now fat while Scott is trim. By simply cutting 125 calories a day in 31 months, Scott has lost 33 pounds. Brad ate only 125 more calories a day in the same time frame and gained 33.5 pounds, so now he weighs 67 pounds more than Scott. But the differences are more significant than weight. Scott's invested almost 1,000 hours reading good books and listening to self-improvement audios. How much more as Christ followers when we're really putting in stuff that benefits body, soul, and spirit? Scott's invested almost 1,000 hours. By putting his newly gained knowledge into practice, he's earned a promotion and a raise. But best of all, his marriage is thriving. Brad, he's unhappy at work and his marriage is on the rocks. And Larry's pretty much exactly where he was 2.5 years ago, except now he's a little more bitter about it. The phenomenal power of the compound effect is that simple. The difference between people who employ the compound effect for their benefit compared to their peers who allow the same effect to work against them is almost inconceivable. It looks miraculous. After 31 months or 31 years, the person who uses the positive nature of the compound effect appears to be an overnight success. But in reality, his or her profound success was a result of small, smart choices completed consistently over time. Now, you guys, I know it can get a little bit long, but I'm going to just read another portion here. The results in the above example seem dramatic, I know, but it goes deeper than that. The reality is that even one small change can have a significant impact that causes an unexpected and unintended ripple effect. And I know you've all heard about this, but I just like the way they spell this out. Let's put one of Brad's bad habits under the microscope, eating rich food more frequently, to better understand how the compound effect can also work in a negative way and can create a ripple effect that impacts your entire life. So Brad makes some muffins from a recipe he learned on Food Channel. He's proud and his family loves it, and it seems to add value all around. So he starts making them and other sweets frequently. He loves his own cooking and eats more than his share, but not so much that anyone notices. However, the extra food makes Brad sluggish at night. He wakes up a little groggy, which makes him cranky. The crankiness and sleep deprivation begin to impact his work performance. He's less productive and as a result gets discouraging feedback from his boss. By the end of the day, he feels dissatisfied with his job and his energy level is way down. The commute home seems longer and more stressful than ever, and all of this makes him reach for more comfort foods. Stress has a way of doing that. The overall lack of energy makes Brad less likely to take walks with his wife like he used to. He just doesn't feel like it. She misses their time together and takes his withdrawal personally. With fewer shared activities with his wife and an absence of fresh air and exercise, Brad's not getting the endorphin release that had helped make him feel upbeat and enthusiastic. Because he's not as happy, he starts finding fault with himself and others and stops complimenting his wife. As his own body starts to feel worse, he feels less self-confident, less attractive, and becomes less romantic. Brad doesn't realize how his lack of energy and affection toward his wife affects her. He just knows that he feels funky. He starts losing himself in late-night TV because it's easy and distracting. Feeling his distance, Brad's wife starts to complain and then becomes needy. When that doesn't work, she emotionally withdraws to protect herself. She's lonely. She pours her energies into her work and spends more time with her girlfriends to fulfill her need for companionship. Men start flirting with her, which makes her feel desirable again. She would never cheat on Brad, but he has a feeling something's wrong. Instead of seeing that his poor choices and behaviors are at the root of their problems, he finds fault with his wife. And on it goes. And then it says, he cites another book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. He said he describes this as a repeating of simply daily disciplines versus simple errors in judgment. It's that simple. With enough time and consistency, the outcomes become visible. Better yet, they're totally predictable. And so I like that because I think it just paints a picture of small, simple choices. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all have experienced it on both sides in our life. We've done some things that are wise, but then it can work against us when we're making those choices that aren't so wise. And I thought it was described so well because it's just as how it makes you feel. Because when you start getting down in one area, then it just spills over into so many other areas. And so if we can help make choices to bring that one area back to where it needs to be, then over time that will help have a ripple effect as well in a positive way in the other areas of our life. And so let me just take a quick peek here. What prevents us from continuing to make those choices? Sometimes we just don't see the progress fast enough, and we have to be so aware of that. And so with that, then we can wrongly conclude that it doesn't work, that those small, simple choices don't. What's the word I'm looking for? Don't matter that much is what this says, but they don't have the product of the fruit in their life, and so you just don't see it fast enough. So whether it would be it's so easy to abort things too early. So you might just have a sense that you need to just pour greater kindness and energy into a relationship, and you do that, and like the thing takes a dive. I mean, it gets worse. And so you can just forget it. You know what I mean? But then we're just wrongly concluding that this is not the way. No, that's the wrong conclusion. Or it could be, going to the gym or working out, and we think we should have this great, thing, or even just cutting back a little bit and you step on the scale and there's just no difference, and it's just like, forget this. But no, we wrongly conclude that our small, smart choices don't have a lasting impact, but they do. And if we can understand this and build our life in a sense on this principle, then it will help bring us to that place that we want to be able to get to. And otherwise, we could also wrongly conclude that our choices don't matter that much. So if we're making some bad choices, you don't see the result of that right away either. And so we can wrongly conclude that small, poor choices don't have a big lasting effect either. And so we have to be careful with those conclusions that we draw and just begin to understand that the compound effect, the lasting, that as time goes on, that effect has great value in our life. And again, I just still feel like it's really important that we understand having a rich marriage, being successful in life, whatever that looks like in our own life, that is not the end all. That is only an avenue for God to be able to use us. Because as we make these small, smart choices, these choices are in obedience to Him. They're in obedience to His revealed will in His Word. These are choices that line up and come into accordance. And so it's through that we are able to bear more fruit. And it's through these things that we're able to influence more people. And it's through these things that we're able to have a greater impact in the realm of the kingdom of God, in the world that we live in the place that we're surrounded in, where God has placed us. Does that make sense? So it's not just like, yep, I'm going to do these things so I can have a great life. No. If that's our motive, then it's a self-centered, and I believe not the highest motive the Lord would have. Because the reason we work in our life, the reason we discipline ourselves, the reason we make small, smart choices on a consistent basis is so that we are being able to be more conformed to the image of God and being able to use more for His kingdom and be able to be of greater influence in our relationships. Does that make sense? And so we're going to just break into small groups now for a while. There's some questions there just about these very things, actually. So let's just take some time to chat about them. And even more than that is for you later today, tomorrow, you just chat with the Lord about these things. It's like, Lord, you know what? This is something that I know. I need to make some shifts in my life, but allow, it's the Spirit of God that works from the inside out. You know what I mean? And so allow the Spirit to bring that life change, not like, okay, I've got to do this. But no, just allow the Lord to bring to light maybe a couple things or one thing in your life that you could start implementing, just a small, simple thing that doesn't take very long at all. You might just need to pump out 10 push-ups. My daughter's been on this, my little girl. She's been on a push-up kick. Crack me up. She does like 60 or whatever a day. She'll just all of a sudden, just like, get down. Boom, 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 boom. It just cracks me up, the kicks that kids get on. But you know what? I just read a little hack that if you go out of the bathroom and you do 25 jumping jacks right away every time you leave the bathroom, that does amazing things for your body. And you just think these are doable things. This isn't like go to the gym and just grunt it out for an hour or something where the pain is so great it's like you're just like, But no, it's not like that. They're just simple things that we can implement into our life to bring about the result. All righty?